I think this is why the internet is such a powerful tool and why technology is such a catalyst for revolutions and global change of thought. Because once you have access to information, that's a huge unlock for so much more. Once you realize there's a world bigger than your
Exactly.
immediate area, everything's different.
Bobbing on the brink of orange chili decline. Blockchains will travel like a screen design. Zooming through the wigs of digital lines in the future.
Hello and welcome to Cryptocurrents, where we interview and discuss the most interesting projects, people, and events happening in tech today. I'm your host this week, Jacq Vaca, the co-founder of Fish and Chips, a full-service crypto and AI agency delivering compelling messaging and community support for the whole of Web3. Today, we have my good friend and community powerhouse, Pareen Lathia, head of Founders Community at Monad Foundation. What's up, Pareen? How are you?
Thanks, Zach, for having me. Great to talk to you after such a long time. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for coming on. So, a little bit of backstory about how we met. You and I met at Founders House in 2023 when I was going to India Blockchain Week. I was working with Polygon at the time, and we were hosting Polygon Connect. Fantastic event. Polygon sponsored Founders House, and it was just like, it was funny because they had just like mentioned it in a list of things that I could go to, and it was kind of on my radar. But our friend Dhruva, who I had worked with on a project at Polygon through his other company, he invited me. So he's your friend. He was there, and he said nothing. I landed in India at like 5 a.m., took a nap, woke up, and he was like, "You got to come to Founder's House. Here's the address. Send me your Uber location."
Wow,
And the
that's
rest
so
is
cool of
history. I
him.
stayed there
Yeah.
I extended my stay in Bangalore just to hang out in Founder's House because I had such a good time. What was like the biggest thing you took away from Founder's House besides like creating Founder's House out of that? Like what was some of the best moments of that time?
I think it was pretty much going with the flow after a long time. It was a solo gig, so I could literally do whatever I wanted to. Plus, Polygon guys have always been super supportive. And it was a very weird experiment that was born out of like a Twitter post that I impulsively made. Then it just felt like, okay, we need something for founders at Eth India. And people were like pointing at me and saying, why don't you give a solution if you're pointing out a problem? So I was like, okay, I have to do this now. I actually really did not want to do anything. Just wanted to chill. But then I just realized that actually, if we just end up inviting the best people uh, to a house where we are chilling, we don't need to go to the event at all. So why don't we do that? I think Founder House was just done in maybe like 10, 12 days. And surprisingly, we got insane response from everyone. And for some reason, I think it ended up attracting absolute right kind of people. Like you came in, Shaka came in, we had Sumit come in. A lot of people who otherwise would not have stayed in a place like this just joined in. And then so many friends and people came in that it was almost like a dream that, okay, wow, this is happening. And the concept is unique enough that it appeals to so many people that they spent so much
Mhm.
time there. And the founders were really new, but everyone loved it. So in some way, I don't think we even put up a Polygon poster. We didn't even execute it like operations wise really well. The speakers were there and the experience was there, but operations wise, the first event was not there yet. And everyone just
It was
enjoyed still.
totally run on vibes, the first one.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
it, exactly
but
that.
it was very professional too, because we had speakers from every major protocol that's sponsored. Jordy was giving a talk, there were investors. There was a
Yeah.
good group of different people because there was investors, there was founders, there was even marketing people, there was people like me in specialties like community that could talk to all of these different founders and bounce ideas off of. It really did offer a lot of support in various ways to all types of founders and building all types of applications. All like it could be a DEX, it could be a consumer app. It was just everything was represented there. I loved it because everyone was there and I met all kinds of different people. And the whole goal of Founders House was let's help these founders. Let's help them get what they need.
Exactly. I think it eventually the only takeaway that I had to answer your original question from this is that actually when you have something that's valuable in terms of an insight and take the first step, the community will come together and complete it. Because frankly, like I did not execute it, right? We had Chirag, we had Parth. All of these people came in and they executed the whole thing. So, and I did not even know them before Founder House. Like
So crazy.
they just, I don't even know why they came in, but they just came in and completed the whole thing. And now it's running pretty well, I think, a year on year. So 2 years done now.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, Founders House is, yeah, very special. Especially the first year, vibes were immaculate. It really did attract the right people. People were there for the right reasons. You was in Bangalore proper, so you really had to want to go into the city and integrate with everyone who's actually living there versus like Whitefield, which is like only hotels and conference centers pretty much. Let's back up a second because people asked you to start Founders House because you wrote about a problem that you saw, but you've been seeing this problem for a while because there was Builders Tribe before Founders House. What's sort of like the history that you have in helping founders? Like, why does this specific sector of community kind of interest you?
The real reason is a lot of trauma. When I was trying to build Web2 companies, I never got any help. I had one mentor who actually saved me from signing a very crazy bad deal. Apart from that, there were accelerators, incubators in India. This is like 2012 when I was building a SaaS product in India. And at that point in time, apart from Paul Graham's essays, there was actually nothing. The investors, VCs here did not know most of these things that are pretty widely known today on how to build a startup, right? So they couldn't even help enough. It just felt like, oh shit, if there was an ecosystem that existed at that point in time, maybe, it would have happened. When I was working at an exchange in India, in 2020, I started getting a lot of offers of, will you invest in my startup? And just like maybe invest 5,000, $10,000. And I was like, okay, I'm not an angel investor, but I would love to see how you build this. So maybe take some money. When I started observing these founders is when I realized that, okay, these guys don't know anything. Like they don't know customer acquisition cost. They don't know do things that don't scale. They don't know basic stuff that a Web2 founder would actually know. Right? Hiring is a big one. How do you manage a team and scale it? Everything is just being done randomly, right? And some founders get it right, so they do succeed, and some founders don't get through this whole mess, so they just end up failing. So at that point in time, while I was investing in startups, is when actually I realized that there is a scope. And I had been to 5 incubators during my Web2 journey. So I knew all the models and how these things work and just the mechanics of it. So I said, why not? And I was talking to a friend at that point in time, and he was also like, hey, I've been working with dev communities for a long time. Now it's time to focus on something more substantial. So we got together and we started Builders Tribe. And when we started, we had no idea what we were building. People just gave us money. So we said, okay, let's start going on calls and asking founders, what do you need? What do you need? So we probably for more than a year, we just got on calls with founders and said, what do you need? How can I help you? And whatever they said, we would arrange it for them. They wanted someone for their marketing agency, we would connect them. They wanted to hire someone, we would help them figure that out. Growth, anything literally that we could do, VC network. And there we ended up building the product Build So. And I think that's where my interest became really serious. That there is, of course, I can talk to founders 10 hours a day and just keep doing this. It's interesting. I get to learn a lot and then I can just cross pollinate the knowledge. That itself is a big value add. There need not be crazy breakthroughs. At some point in time, it felt like this is an opportunity to actually build something super valuable, which is a network. And do believe that Web3 will enable a network which will surpass YC in some way. YC is the gold standard. Everyone wants to beat it. No one has been able to do for probably like 20 years now, maybe more than that. Uh, I think there is a way that if you decentralize this whole network called YC, it actually works much better. How to do that? We have a lot of theses. We tried out a bunch of theses. We failed at some. Some of them, some of the insights proved right. And after that, it just became like, okay, I think there is scope here to crack this. How? 100%, I don't know as yet. But there are a lot of insights to be implemented at this stage. So let's implement that and see if it works. If it grows by a lot, then we have a great network of founders here. I mean, that is going to be incredibly valuable. We made a bunch of mistakes at Builders Tribe. And I think in the hindsight, of course, it's always very clear, but probably like it was the best incubator in India, and we did not have a cohort, we did not have a fund, we did not have anything, but we got all of the top Indian startups out of the last cycle. Because we started here, it felt very small for a while, like, okay, shit, now we need to go play at the global stage. And I think that's where we ended up failing, that we couldn't really go play at the global stage.
So when you're doing all of this and you're providing support for founders, there must be like a common set of things that people are asking for. It could be wide ranging, but how do you think about serving them specifically? When they need things, how do you find ways to serve them? Because I feel like every startup, Web 2 or Web 3, they have the same kind of needs.
Yeah, I think so. Buckets are very clear here. Capital is what they ask for the most. Even sometimes they don't ask for it, but they are only here for capital largely. And they think that they can figure everything else out just because you gave me 2 million. Now I can figure out everything. That's actually the biggest irony here, that that's the false thinking. What they need the most is PMF. Like, how do you get to a level where your product has maybe even 1,000 people? Let's not even call it product market fit, but let's just say, like a validation of some kind, which is so tightly experimented with that these 1,000 people love your app. Come what may, they're not going to leave. They really love this shitty, buggy app. That means there are more people in the world who would love this as well. And these guys are already telling their friends and friends and friends. This is actually how best startups are built. The image that we've created with Facebooks and Google and social network is that one day Peter Thiel will appear in front of you, give you millions of dollars, and then you will be Mark Zuckerberg. That's not how actually it works. The way it works is to actually build the smallest possible product, minimum viable product that you have, and take it to one small segment of users manually, non-scalably, not so my product's ready. Let's start Twitter ads. That's the worst thing that can be done. Let's pay KOLs and get some users here. That's actually not going to work out. What's going to work out is, as a founder, you go there and you say, I'm here at an event. I'm going to sign up 100 people today, one by one. Here, I'm doing this. I'm seeing them use my app. I'm answering their questions and I'm doing these things. Once you conquer one event, let's say out of 500, if you manage to sign up even 50, 100, that's a great win in one event. Now you can replicate this across 100 events or something like that, right? Which basically keeps the founder close to the end user, doesn't create gap between the founder and the end user. When that happens, I think we can see insane insight being generated out of these interactions. And those insights will become products that will actually succeed, because first few versions of any product doesn't really succeed. It just doesn't happen that way. You fail, build the wrong thing, slowly correct, hypothesize more, talk to customers more, get some insights and say, okay, maybe we can build this feature and see, oh, wow, suddenly because there's something new, users started loving it. Okay, now there's an inflection point. This is the time to actually think about scalability and raise funds and all of these things. But the initial part that Y Combinator or Paul Graham's essays talk about is largely missing in Web3. It just doesn't exist. Maybe Alliance is the only place where you'd get a decent experience as a founder of doing this, going through this journey. Apart from that, there are no ecosystems, there are no places where you can actually learn this whole journey and do it together, which is the hardest part as well. So founders hate sometimes saying, you're always telling me to do this and do that, and it's not good enough. Give me money. It's not going to solve your problem. It's really not going to solve your problem. The day you get validation, love from these 1,000 users, any VC will fund you. there's not going to be
Mhm.
a problem. If you can
Mhm.
really achieve the stage, then you are going to top tier VCs, and I will be the one introducing you to top tier VCs. But use the community, make sure that you are a part of it, and get this validation in some way. I think this also differentiates good founders from great founders. Great founders would be like, okay, this makes sense. It's the harder way, but let me do this. Some of the founders are still like, no, I will pitch to 100 more VCs and see what happens. Without validation, at least in this market, no one's going to invest. Even in the peak bull market, taking that money might not be the best idea for a founder. If you're stuck in absolute bottom tier investor category, then it's very hard to rise in the industry as well because everyone looks at you in that with that frame in mind.
So it's funny because you talk about things that don't scale, which is like one of the biggest ways that people build communities is by doing things that don't scale. And so, what do you think a lot of these projects are getting wrong about their community in general? Because I feel like when you tell people do things that don't scale in tech, they are so averse to it because they only look at the big projects that have already scaled, that have already gone through these things. But you even look at Facebook, it started so small, right? It was a small website for one campus, his friends only, first. It wasn't meant to scale it in the beginning. So as more and more projects come online and more projects are coming to the wayside, I get asked a lot about KOLs. I get asked a lot about, XYZ, all of the crypto normative ways to grow community, as they say it, what they don't know. But what are projects, in your opinion, getting wrong about communities in general?
So I think first, if you were to look at this whole scenario where a super early stage project is trying to build community, largely, I think everyone's again looking at numbers, right? Everyone is super focused on the fact we need 100K in Discord, we need 100K on Twitter, we do need this, need that. Yes, that's legit. A lot of them think that because that's also signal for their project that, okay, we are popular. That helps with exchange listing, perverse incentives exist. So it's easy to run a Zeely campaign and just immediately be like, okay, you know, now I can get so many users because I gave out some XP points or something. This actually hampers the real information. You are basically what you're doing is if my glass is not clear, it is foggy, you are blowing more smoke instead of cleaning that glass. You got to understand that you got maybe directionally, you know that this product works intuitively, maybe from experience. Any founder knows that, okay, this product should work, it is needed. Now it's time to actually clear the glass by going to actual users, presenting them with a very small MVP, very shitty UX. Don't polish it. Don't worry about naming it. Don't worry about incorporating the company. Nothing is needed at this point. Just talk to 100 people and get them to sign up and start using the app. The day that happens, everything else will start happening on its own. But if these people, for whatever reason, are not liking the product, you don't move to funding or scalability stage just because this is getting too hard. I don't want to spend more time trying to do this. I already did 3 experiments. Now this is working reasonably well. It's not great, I know, fundamentally, but still, I know most of my users are farmers. Okay, but I will let it go. And if that happens, even if you end up raising money, that money is not going to help you scale. So you will be experimenting while having that money, which is technically a debt. It is a debt, and you're paying some kind of return on this, right? VCs expect certain things, certain years, certain percentage, certain X alpha. So you'd rather take that money 6 months later and make sure that the product is so good that these people are spreading it to their friends instead of going for the money right now just because it feels very safe. It is safe to have money in the bank for sure, but it distracts from the real thing, which is to say, only two people in a room can actually achieve validation. You can do a closed loop validation within just like two people, three people team, and very non scalably for any product. But it feels very hard to get rejected all the time because I know that the product I'm going to put out today is going to be rejected. But good, take that rejection, but you will get some insights with that rejection. Those
Right.
insights you don't get without getting something in front of the user, even if it is a Figma file, showing it to a user, it makes a lot of sense rather than just pitching to the user saying, okay, if you use my app, this is how you will be able to operate. Make a Figma file on a Sunday and share it with your user. That's progress. Then slowly go to some AI tool and try to code it or get an intern to code it or do something, spend some of your weekend code it. These steps is what actually a great founder would take because they would be like, why should I worry about money at this point? I believe that I'm right and I'm going to execute it till the time the market tells me that I'm absolutely wrong, which actually doesn't happen. People pivot, people do different things, and they achieve product market fit if they are hell bent on achieving product market fit. If they are hell bent on raising money, they will raise money in good times when the market is doing well. Very easy to raise money. But what then is the bigger problem?
Then they get stuck after a certain point and they're shooting themselves in the foot because their progress only goes so far and their product development hasn't reached the level of valuation that they've already propped themselves up as.
Exactly. It's not even that the product affects the valuation at that point in time, but it's just that you need money to scale something. But if the kernel of what you're scaling itself is not good, you're going to scale something terrible. So why do that? Or you're just going to not use the money, which actually never happens. Everyone starts using money. If a founder has enough grit, they know that solving this before raising makes a whole lot more sense. It just makes a lot of logical sense to do this. I think that's where most of the Web3 industry is pretty scared. They want everyone's addicted to early liquidity.
Do you think that's because they see we have a really bad habit of comparing ourselves to other projects? I think in crypto, maybe in tech in general, where it's like, well, they raise so much money and they're not even doing anything, or their founders are stupid, or this and that, or Alamigo raise money before they even
Yeah,
really
yeah.
think hard about their product.
I mean, this happens everywhere. I think a lot of VCs are just notorious for very high valuations and very high amounts of money funded. As long as they get their alpha, VCs are going to be okay. Or a founder, when we look at this super early stage cycle and we say that okay, this person got funded 7 million as seed round, a ridiculous amount sometimes. It's important to know that this is not a fair game. It's a very unfair game, riddled with biases, and uh, as a founder, use them. Use whatever you can to get ahead. No worries. There's no shame in doing whatever you want to do. Only thing here is that when you see someone and say that, wow, this guy did so many million, or this founder did a pump and dump for 100 million, actually, even that is not very easy to do. I think
True.
recently at a fireside chat, Q&A told that every time a founder says, I should have just done pump and dump and made some money. It's not that easy. It's actually it might be at par with how hard it is to build a real
It's a
business.
really intense thing to do, a pump and dump still. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and you might still lose where you lose your reputation permanently, right? Here, even if you lose, right, maybe your product doesn't work or you end up burning some VC money as well, whatever. The worst case scenario with an honest founder still protects reputation. So you can play more iterations of the same game rather than, you know, you trying to do pump and dump, doing the perfect thing maybe, but on the day of the launch, maybe Bitcoin dumps by 7% and the whole market is killed, your scheme is gone and your reputation is gone as well. It's actually
My God.
pretty illogical to say that, I should have raised $30 million or I should have done a pump and dump scheme and I should have just got money because someone else got it. It's actually survivorship bias at max capacity, because you are just looking at survivors. There are going to be thousands and thousands of these people who went to the same VC with maybe even a unique product, but they did not get 20, $30 million of funding. So if they did not get that, you're not seeing them. You might be one of them. And trying to do that is very distracting. Generally, my thinking is that founders should not get distracted. Do you want to take concentrated bet and make sure that that turns out to be right? If it's not right, you adjust, adapt very quickly. Right? How do you do that is by focusing on just one thing, which is to say, I need this next milestone. Okay. I need a lead engineer who can code this. Okay. If that's the next milestone, get on it. Everything else doesn't matter. Then get on the bandwagon saying, okay, now I have a MVP. Now I need 1,000 users here. I'm going to get on a call, 30 of them every day. I'm just going to keep calling people, messaging people, tweeting about it, whatever is needed. Get those 1,000 users. If there are five other thoughts at that point in time, getting these 1,000 users is going to be so much harder and so much slower than anything else. So in my mind, it's just like startups have very little resources, which include founders' time and attention and energy, everything.
Hmm.
You're supposed to take very small, concentrated bets, super concentrated bets, and hope that they work out, make them happen somehow, and keep doing this for a while before you get the resources, which means a larger team, money in the bank, or maybe brand name to actually make mistakes. In the initial days, there's no scope for making too many mistakes. You will just run out of time or energy, or your lead engineer will be like, I don't think this guy's going to make it. I'm taking another job offer. And that's always the case. Like you may be about to close the VC and the lead engineer leaves. You're just like, what the fuck? You want to actually move as fast as possible in the earliest stages. And that's just possible if there is singular focus for a really long time. Before the team
Hmm.
expands and there's money and everything, then of course there are a lot more things to be done here.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good way to think about it. Maybe focusing more from individual projects more to like the major L1, L2 ecosystems. I feel like there's a lot that they could do to help themselves build better communities because I've been a part of that L2 ecosystem building. And, once you get to that stage where there is tons of funding, it's not always easy to focus what you need to do because I feel like then they get caught up in other things. So I have a whole bunch of things I could say about this, but I would love your opinion on how these major L1, L2 ecosystems can kind of build better communities and then focus their efforts to grow once they have that funding. What do they do then?
I think more resources is always it's leverage, right? So
Hmm.
it will basically expose what the founder is made of. Some founders I've seen some founders with a lot of treasury who haven't been able to spend at all, right? These guys have maybe more than $100 million in their treasury. They don't spend at all. They're just waiting for some crazy thing to happen before they can start spending this, which is, I think, maybe like EOS, if you end up buying Bitcoin with this, it might be a good idea. But apart from that, chains that are overfunded have in last few cycles overhired, overshot, over aimed, and turned up short in the bear market. This includes everything, every chain actually. Last cycle, I don't think there is any chain which did not overshoot.
No,
uh,
yeah, blitz hires through and through. Yeah.
yeah, literally everyone has done this. Probably the ones who saved money were better off in that regard. That I'm just not going to do anything here and I'm happy. So maybe that was still like the bar was so low. This cycle, I think I can see some of the contemporary chains, and they are very professional about these things. There are clear targets. This almost feels like the next iteration in terms of making mistakes. I can't see any of the previous cycle mistakes in this cycle chain. At least not the top 5 or 10 mistakes that you could easily learn from, very easily. Right. So in that sense, I think there is a new iteration, new breed of chains, which will make newer mistakes, which will be awesome, right? That we have the chance to do something creative. We will do maybe 50 experiments, 100 experiments in a year. Maybe 80 out of them will not work out. 20 that work out, we double down on them and keep doing the same thing. So I think even though lot of ecosystems are called ecosystems. They're still startups in their own way. And there's a lot of unknowns. So we have to cross them. Hopefully, we take bold enough bets that asymmetric returns are just offsetting everything else, because I do believe that power law way more important when we are working in a high risk sector like this, where the winner doesn't just take it all, the winner takes all and everything and the whole ground, probably, which is like Phantom or Coinbase right now. They take literally everything. So you want one of those in some way, or you want one asymmetric bet, two asymmetric bets to go really hit it so big that it's not funny. It can sustain a whole ecosystem on that. But there's also the case that, and now we got to be very, very careful, because we don't know what this is going to be, which startup is going to be. So we have to support the whole long tail, and we do want to support all long tail projects. Some chains in this regard have specialized, saying, okay, this is our vertical, we will only operate here. Some chains have chosen regions, saying we will only operate in this local region, and we are very happy with that. I think there's all sorts of experiments being done. At this point in time, it's almost like ecosystems are trying to see where the boundaries are. I don't think 2017 or 2021 ecosystems did not experiment a lot. They just thought, okay, ICOs are the way. Now, instead of ICOs, let's do IDOs. IDOs are the way. Let's just do the same thing. Plus, maybe NFTs got added to 2021. Now is the time to actually experiment and see what really, really works. We know why the chains that are doing good, at least. 2021 cycle, I don't think there was a precedent. So they had it much harder as well, I should say, for sure.
A lot of mistakes.
Yeah. But that's how we grow as an industry, right?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought of it as the second iteration, but you're right when you say that, top 5 mistakes in the past cycle aren't being repeated. And we are learning a little bit more. I think Coinbase is one of those consumer products that is really maybe surprised a lot of people. I saw Base launch at FWB Fest and, when it launched a couple years
Oh, yeah,
ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, Jesse brought 40 of his developers to come launch it at this festival. He brought Starlink and launched it out in the forest.
Uh,
I felt like Base's entire launch has been very intentional in that way. And I think it's followed through with that. And I continue to see it astronomically grow, not only in the crypto native sense, but also, just with other consumer apps out there. And yeah, I continue to see them kind of try the TikTok thing, going out in like different ways. I think it's interesting to see, and like we'll continue to see them evolve and continue to see how they do things, how the super chain will work out. We'll see.
uh, Seeing these waves and seeing more of such waves is what actually uh, makes it possible to see the repeated mistakes. The way chains are going through waves, the dApps are going through waves, the dev communities are going through waves. All of this is interacting with each other. And the more we understand the past, the better we can manage risk in the future. At least we know what not to do. That's the least we can understand.
Can we switch gears for a second and talk a little bit more about something that you built? Just like it's like a little bit. Can we talk about values DAO? I'm trying to go around it, but like let's talk about values DAO because look, I know the product has changed, but
Yeah.
I really can't tell you how much I really loved the simplicity of the values DAO bot. Can you talk a little bit more about what it is and sort of like the inspiration that helped you come up with thinking about that for communities?
I'm pretty sad about it, actually. So it's not being worked upon for a while now. Essentially, the idea here is that we moved out of tribes. Tribes used to be how we live. The identity, resource constraints, everything was tried with tribes throughout human history. Maybe last 200 years or so, I think maybe even 100 years or so, we've broken apart and we said, okay, I'm not living with my tribe anymore. I go to a crazy multicultural city and I start living there. And then, of course, I feel lonely because I can try treating everyone equally, but that's not true at all. I can say that, okay, an Indian guy or an African guy, an American guy, everyone's my friend. That's not going to happen. But I don't want to discriminate based on people's appearance, identity, or anything. So, what's the parameter for connection here? Because definitely there is variation. The way I connect with one person is not the way I connect with another person. There are vibes. These vibes are actually values, right? So, values are not honesty, integrity, whatever moral science teaches us. Values are actually these small programs that exist in our minds. It's almost like subconscious internalized software that we built. And this software actually limits everything that we do. It actually defines us in whatever way possible. And they've always been defined as absolutes, honesty, integrity, whatever. I think they're spectrums more than absolutes. So if I'm saying someone is highly capitalistic, someone's highly communistic, someone's highly collectivist, someone's highly individualistic. So these things, what I did with a developer friend is we created this AI model, simple, super simple stuff where you could connect your Twitter or Farcaster and we would read 100 tweets and then figure out your values based on those tweets. Of course, it's projection, but still that's valuable than not having your values at all. And the hope was that we can let you feed in more and more information to get your values out. Uh, Yeah, I haven't been working on it for a while now. I think since early January. But the engine still is there. I think a couple of apps are using it to check values between their users. So we have API endpoints where you can just hit with 100 tweets and we'll give you the values of this user. I was recently thinking of what to do with this because I do think I can actually figure out some people's values based on their content now. Just to understand larger framework also is very easy. If more people can do that, I think we can facilitate a lot more trusted, closer connections in some way. So I was just actually about to write a post on Twitter saying there's a bounty. Anyone wants to make a dating app out of it, please do. Because I think we tried a bunch of things here and nothing worked. And one of the mistakes that I made very clearly at that point in time is not listening to the users. Because since April last year till December, till the time I was building it, I must have got maybe 500 people tell me that build a dating app out of this. And it'll be better than Bumble or whatever exists out there because we are just connecting based on values. Appearance doesn't matter that much. A lot of other factors can be refined eventually, but what you want is core value alignment. And my thinking always was that dating app is hyper local, it's very hard to do. So I never built that. But I think if I were to follow the advice that I give to founders right now, blindly would be that so many users are asking for it, just build a damn dating app and release it in the market, see maybe something happens. So maybe I'll just give a small bounty for someone who can make an app out of it and post it on App Store, Play Store. I think maybe it picks up in some way. That would be nice.
I remember when you were telling me that people were suggesting it turn into a dating app, and I thought it was really funny, but also it makes a lot of sense because I think the deeper connections, and it doesn't have to be dating, but the deeper connections in general happen when your values are aligned. That's what builds deep community. That's why I really liked this idea for community building in general. But dating app also, that also works.
I mean, in some way, the bar is pretty low with the current dating apps. It's so low that any
True.
alternative, people will jump on it at least once
Mhm.
to try it out. That's what everyone has been telling me. So, like, okay, let's see.
Yeah, because these apps aren't meant for people to connect, right? That you can only connect, if you pay money and you set your settings right and do all these things, it's still superficial.
They have to keep it superficial because their incentives are against the user's interest, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
if let's say people were to download a dating app, any dating app, within 1 hour, see all the best matches, suddenly take them offline, talk to them on Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever email, and then never use the app. The app
Mm-hmm.
company actually makes loss. So it's in their interest to make sure that people don't find the best match, right? And then make them pay. That's what they're doing, which shows, I think, Bumble stock. I was just seeing it a few days ago as well. It's down from six. $60 to $3.
If you can prove that this could find better matches for you, people would pay up front for it. That's the difference, is
Yeah,
that if you could say
that's
like,
what I was
hey,
thinking.
like
Just
you're
$5.
gonna find a great person. It's $10 to get into to get access to this high quality app, whatever the price.
Uh, no, it's free after that if you want to use it. But ideally, there's no point in paying these $10.
Or like some
So I,
entrance fee, yeah, something like this. I have this idea, but I think that the Values DAO dating app is a thing that could happen.
yeah, I'll tweet about this. I have detailed plans and a lot of things already sorted.
I know you do.
Just need like a dev to build it, submit it, and see what happens. I can't do growth for it right now, but I think I can pay someone to just at least do content around this. So don't be very difficult.
So maybe that brings us to like what you're doing at Monad, because the reason you can't have so much time on Values Now app is because you're working now with Monad. Congratulations on your role as Founders Community Head. When you and I talk about community, which is like something that you and I initially vibed on because we are two well-known community builders in our respective communities, and we are a community with each other. You and I know that it's like this balance of absolute grit with care. There's like a level of care that you need to take. You really need to give a shit about your people. But there's also this level of grit where you're, again, doing things that don't scale. There's long hours, there's, all this kind of crazy stuff. So for you in your new role, what's been the hardest part about building a community of founders at a major project like Monad?
The tricky part about building a founder community specifically is
Hmm.
founders want validation. They want help.
Yeah.
They want to see that, okay, this guy likes my product or me or whatever. And our job actually is to get them to zoom out, look at the reality, and be like, this is how it's from the outside, because founders are very close, right? They are zoomed in all the time, which is great, which is how it should be. But then to balance that perspective out, we've got to zoom them out and be like, in the larger scheme of things, XYZ doesn't matter. ABC do matter. So why don't you focus on ABC? Let's do this. And it's sort of opposite of cheerleading in some way. It's almost like I want to tell you you suck so that you improve, and I will help you improve. I'm here. I'm there to make sure that you go in the right direction. You get some resources from our side. You get some community support. Literally everything that I can arrange for you, I will do it. But I don't want you to be in the delusion that you've already made it. I don't want to butter you in any way, which I think a lot of chain ecosystems have learned how to do somehow. And always say nice things to the founders. So they will be like, hey, I got a great review from this person. I got a great review from that person. Come on, who's going to tell you the truth? Yeah.
Hmm.
And at early stages, every product sucks. Every founder sucks. Whenever I've launched a product, sucked. So there's no problem in sucking. The problem is still looking for validation, saying, okay, I just need to know that I'm doing great. And that may not be the best idea all the time. In fact, if you keep looking for what you're doing wrong, the chances of that startup surviving is much higher than someone who's always, uh, I think founders have to be a little paranoid. If they're not, then it's going to be very hard to make it big. That's the challenge here. Otherwise, most communities, it's always love and care. The more we love the community, the more we care for the community, everything goes up. All the numbers go up, everything goes up. Here, it's actually pretty insane in some way that I'm telling a founder that I really believe that in the long run, you can make a unicorn, but you suck in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, Z, everything.
That's
Now you've
tough
got
love, though.
2 years of hard life ahead of you. You got to read these books, you got to watch this, you got to do this, you got to fill this, you got to practice here, and this Sunday you got to ship some code as well. Which just feels like, what is this guy crazy? Most people can't see that, okay, it's polar. Right? That, okay, yeah, I know I suck right now, but someday I'm going to be $1 billion company's CEO. Wow. Okay, suddenly how did this happen? But This is how startups work. You never know when you find a Brian Armstrong. When Brian Armstrong went to Y Combinator, of course, there were so many things that were not right. Largely, they were telling him what was not right. Because if they keep telling him what was right all the time, that's going to be more delusional than what a founder already is generally.
That's so funny that the hardest part of building for a major project like Monad is to give them that tough love, but it really is to improve their end product and really set them up for success in the best way. I guess that's the difference between a founders community and other communities is that's how you show love. You say, hey, you have a lot of potential, but you also have a lot of work ahead of you. And a lot of these people
Yeah.
are first time founders or they're like young founders. And so you're giving them a lot of valuable insight from many, many years and from many, many conversations that you've had with many, many founders. So,
Exactly. I think the biggest thing is it's a job is actually cross-pollination more than anything else. Because if I
yes.
talk to, like 20 social startup founders in a month, there are obvious things that I can see that this is not working here. So don't do that. Save 1 month of your time. Just at least don't do that. It's the best that we can do because founders who are good, they're already experts in their own field. There's nothing that, the famous dialogue is there's nothing you can teach Michael Jordan about basketball. Uh, so you teach Michael Jordan, hey, every morning this is our routine because of this. This is the historic data that says these things. So let's show up. And, then you don't even have to because he's Michael Jordan. So that's when you know there is a takeoff in the founder as well. That, okay, I can understand that you are already an expert in building a perp exchange. Great. You have a potential co-founder conflict here. Have you sorted that out? Or are you like 50-50 no veto when, really big decisions come together? Because most startups die out of co-founder conflicts. And I can see in one meeting that you have something between you guys. Right? So these things are very hard to quantify. These things are very hard to even communicate sometimes. I've seen 25 founders make the same mistake again and again and again. I even know what phrase you are going to use now, right? I know that you're going to be like, no, no, without this feature, my product is not complete. Okay, I know that's not true at all, but you're scared. Your product is not going to work without this feature. It's not even going to work with this feature, but you're going to waste one more week to just be sure that I'm shipping one more feature before I tweet about it. Okay, great. I'll let you spend that 1 week because it's not too much of a cost. Otherwise, I would come to you and be like, hey, this 1 week is critical. Please don't spend it building one more feature. The core product value proposition is not working. So start scheduling calls with maybe 30 of your existing users and see what they think about this.
hmm
And
hmm
here's the format on how to do user interviews. This is how you do it. So this becomes a very soft. It feels like, okay, it doesn't matter too much. But actually, this is what great founders need. And great founders need these things.
Yeah.
Don't run into a wall here. Don't run into a wall here. There may be a slight opening there. Check it out. And then they do everything on their own.
Sometimes founders fall in love so much with their product that they don't allow for input from other people, especially their users. I've seen this time and time again where they're like, this is the thing that I need. This is what my differentiator, this is the thing that I want. And the users are saying, no, 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 no. We want this other thing. This thing that you think is important is not important. I have seen this time and time again. The other thing that I think I see with young founders is overcomplication. Overcomplicate. Last Founders House, the one that just passed, I talked to all the stragglers there, and one of them, we were talking about building a Telegram bot. Simple, 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 simple product. Telegram bot for the chain that they were building on. And they wanted to put all these crazy features. And I was like, you can do that in a year. But right now you need to build a very simple product. But they fall in love with something and they need to fall in love. They have to have a passion, with their product, but they have to let go of that idea once it starts getting into the real world and letting people dictate what's actually useful for the users.
These things sometimes sound like, very easy or super obvious sometimes after people hear it. I think it's underappreciated how many failures have gone into this. So just like I said recently, right now, I did not listen to my users at ValuesDAO, right? I thought, no, I know better.
Prime
The
example.
dating app is not going to work. So the reason why we do this is because I was very zoomed in into values now. I was thinking more about mechanics than the broader assumptions that I had made. If I would have questioned them even for half an hour, 1 hour, someone would have been like, sit here. Like, I was a hard head. I was just like, anyone who would try to tell me this, I would just be like, see, there's a logical reason why this cannot happen. That's it. I'm done here. Not making a dating app. Okay. That was actually wrong, right? If there was someone who was maybe a stronger head than me would be like, shut up, sit down. This is why your assumptions are wrong. Maybe it would have worked out, right? So, in some way, I think it's just a matter of abstracting from all the past failures and giving it to someone where I'm looking at it from the outside. As an outsider, it's very easy. Like, everyone can see other person's problem. Like you don't even need to be an expert in that. Most of the times, even when founders are making mistakes, everyone around them knows about these things. They just don't say anything or they can't articulate it very well. So they say it in very crude ways. So our job actually is to be able to articulate these things and be like, okay, see, 15 startups have done this. This is how it went. This is the upside. This is the downside. You will lose a week. Do you want to lose a week? Okay, build your feature. If not, forget about it.
Would you say Monad has an advantage because they're connecting their founders to each other with you leading this charge? I see a lot of dots being connected, and I've always wanted to have a network of founders as well. When I was at Polygon and my first job was at client services, I only talked to founders, and I could tell that they needed each other. And I was that dot connector there when in that position before I went on to move into like the head of the proper community. When I was in client services, I was like, there needs to be someone connecting all of these founders together. Do you think that because Monad has this position for you that they're in a distinct advantage to other ecosystems that aren't thinking this way?
This network we've just started creating. It will take 5 years for this network to mature. It is not a short-term thing to build loyalty. Today, if I were to check Web3, I don't think anyone has loyalty at this point.
No,
Uh,
everyone's grant
mm,
running
mm,
around finding
yeah,
grants,
not
multi-chain,
just
omni-chain.
chain, not just chain, but any incubation network, right? Because in
Mm.
typically in an incubator, you live there for 3 months. That should generate some kind of loyalty or peer identity, at least. I don't think anyone has been able to do that. I don't think we have taken significant steps in doing these things as of now. We will. But in terms of advantages, I would say for the last 2.5, 3 years, these guys have been building the community. They've been building the team. Biggest unfair advantages that I think we have at Monad is the community. When people say community, it means various things. It takes very little time to check out Monad community, but it's very, very different. As biased as I may be, I think it is pretty solid. So for any founder, if I were to launch Values DAO on Monad today, instantly I'll get 10,000 users,
That's what developers
which
need
is
too. That's
pretty
what founders
insane.
need. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So that's such a big value add that it's going to save me so much time. And second thing is the team. I'm not talking to only techies here. And I'm talking to people who have built businesses, who've launched products, who've raised money, who've had exits. There's a very different level of connection. I think this is one of the biggest unfair advantages that Monad has. And then you have access to absolute tier one VCs, which is right from Paradigm, Electric, anything you want, right? And these founders get to operate within that network, who's operating in this whole community. So in some way, I think the whole existing founders who are building on Monad, they're pretty tight with each other. They're connected with each other already. And it works out very well for them. to collaborate. Even though we are on testnet, the number of collaborations happening every week is pretty high. These are just founders who are getting to know each other, giving each other feedback on each other's product, doing a lot of things that we can't even keep a track of at this point.
I really love that. They've done the low and slow building where they started small. They've done it right. They've scaled over a long period. It's been 2 years, but I feel like they've done everything right. I recently wrote a playbook on community, and I feel like Monad did everything right. So this is your opportunity to just shout out more of what you love about the Monad community, because I love hearing about what they've done. Because everything that you've told me and everything that I've seen, I'm like, I sold. I love them.
It's like you said, it's hard labor actually.
Mhm.
I think Keone flew to at least 40 different cities in last 2 years, probably.
Bless Keone.
And wherever I've been, the NADS community is super, super active. One of the things that really surprised me after I joined in is the community calendar. I don't know if anyone has seen the community calendar, but it's pretty insane. You know what they do is drawing classes, karaoke. There would be yoga classes on weekends. There would be people jamming on different things. There would be live broadcasts sometimes of different things. There is quizzes, sports, chess, a lot of other things happening. The whole Discord community is not coming together to talk about tokens or what they
Yeah.
did uh, with some other project or some other L1. They are actually connecting with each other. They're connecting with each other locally. They're connecting with each other online on Discord and on Twitter. And suddenly things are being produced, or artists are creating different art for different projects in Monad ecosystem now. We have Mon Animals, which were community designed completely. And now there are NFT projects that are launching on Mon Animals. People are organizing different meetups, Monad 101 sessions, a lot of other things in their own cities. So these things are happening pretty organically. And it's only happening because these are people who came here with the right intention. We have a bunch of people who are so tight that it doesn't feel like they're community members. They feel like they are members of the team. Right? And the reason why this happens is because they've just been in the culture for such a long time. So when you slow bake a community, it's actually going to be so good that it's ready. Thankfully, like founders in Monad get this immediately.
Yeah.
And that's a value add that I don't think anyone can provide. I've seen them be so active about everything. Sometimes I don't even know, like, is this really Web3 community that's actually coming together for the right causes with the right set of values and also hanging out with each other? They're not talking about, you know, how we can farm this or how we can farm that. Not even on some other chain. They're not doing it. They're just here to hang out, which is so rare in Web3.
So Web 1.
I don't think. Yeah, this is actually pretty Web one. Or this is more like Bitcoiners community come together for a cause or
Yeah.
something like that. But the cause here is to have fun. Like, everyone's just having fun with different things, and art and products and other things are just being created on their own. NFTs have been insane. The art behind it, the way communities have been developed, their culture inside each sub community. Like Monad culture has a lot of subcultures in it.
Very healthy for communities.
But no one planned these things out. They just happened, and
Yeah.
the
All
team,
organic.
everyone was nice enough to say that, hey, there's space for these things. We let you do what you want to do. And people did great work inside. Some of the lingo, the way it works on Twitter, is very hard to even understand if you're not inside completely. So it took me like a month, more than a month, to just understand, oh wow, okay, this is how you talk. These are the characters. It's like a fun little culture that keeps going on and on every day.
I love the Monad lore. I love the Nads. I love the Mladendak mascot.
Yeah.
All of it. All of it is good. Even I really love the little anime ad that they did with the Uniswap unicorn. It was like 15 seconds, but it's so memorable because I loved it so much. So cute. Anyway, I love the Monad community. So let's maybe for our listeners who are interested now that we've got appetites wet for Monad, how do they get involved? How do they start participating in Monad? I've pointed some people to the testnet and to the ecosystem page where you can start to look at the apps that are there and you can start to, get on testnet. But how do people dive a little bit deeper?
The easiest way is to give link to the public calendar.
Okay.
What I've done on my own is just look at this.
The public calendar. Yeah, we can link it when we publish this.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. So the public calendar, maybe I can show it. That would be pretty insane. Let me just show the public calendar. See this? It's just
Yeah.
like
This is the Monad community
Junkman,
events.
flags and fits, croc, draws, painting, Tetris. I don't even know what Insect Instinct is. There's a CPR event. I don't know who we are giving CPR to.
CPR. Oh my God, Tetris.
Tunes is doing Twitter Space. Monad in the Morning is a new recurring show that has started. Danny is doing that. Yeah, she talk show, scavenger hunt. Literally, this is all nothing about, you know, selling Monad or
I love it.
chain or that chain, nothing like that. So in some way, I think for me, this has been an introduction saying, okay, this culture really, really works in some way. But I'm sure there are other ways. I can actually figure out how to get into Monad community.
We'll put all the links in the description below. But thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible. Guess the anime is an interesting one that I think I might want to join. So fun. Okay, well, you know what? That's probably a good place for us to wrap this up. Pareen, how can people find you on Twitter and other places, anywhere else?
Pareen. L is my ID. Or if you just search Pareen, crypto, Bitcoin, something, you will find it on Twitter. I think it should be easy enough. Would love to continue the conversation in DMs, answer anyone if there's a founder, building, connect, happy to help in any possible way I can.
Yeah, if you're a builder in a Web3 and you're interested in participating on the Monad network, this is the guy to talk to. Go flood his DMs and make his life
Even
easier
more
and
awesome.
harder. Thank you so much. This
Yeah.
has been another episode of Crypto
Thank you,
Currents,
Jacq.
and we look forward to chatting again in the future.
Keep on grooving, never losing, flowing with the current essence, join the wave, feel the presence.
Cool. Okay, we're done.